What's up, guys? What is up? Welcome back to another episode of Deck Talk Podcast. And I'm telling you, we have two special guests on here tonight. And but before we get started, we got some business to handle. This episode is brought to you by Bruiser Baits, FireFly Outdoors and Marine, YoloTek, Spearpoint Hooks, ProLine Baits, Joe Burns Rods, and Cornfield Fishing Gear, guys. Man, I just want you to know, we have been looking forward to this episode, and I'm so stoked that it is finally here to get this done. But guys, if you don't know, I'm Colin Burnett.
Woo, Pappy J, baby.
So let's get started with the introductions. And there's really no need to introduce this couple here, because, I mean, if you're in the fishing world and you follow it, you know who this couple is. So, but I just want to say, Mike is the only angler in Bassmaster history to have won in every adult tournament level, including the Bassmaster Classic in 2003, the Bassmaster Angler of the Year in 2006, the BASS Nation Championship in 1999, and the Bassmaster Classic Tournament in 2021. And let's see, he has almost 300 Bassmaster total tournaments underneath his belt, with 20 classic appearances. We need to make that 21 though. And but guys, if you don't know, this is Mike Iaconelli and his wife Becky. So how in the world are y'all doing?
We're doing good. We're doing good. Thank you guys for having us on. And if this was a podcast, technology has gotten crazy now. You've got AI, you've got forward facing, but if the technology was available that your audience could smell right now, Becky said, my feet stink so bad right now. And I'm telling you, I don't smell it, which is crazy. We were talking about this before we went live, but I think I have stinky feet right now, which is interesting.
There's television for everyone.
No, but you figure that's right around the corner.
Figment tried it back in like the 80s, and they still haven't come out with it.
You're right. They did try
Before you know it, your wife over there, she's going to have some baking soda and some hot water soaking your feet.
She's going to spray the aerosol, like spray it down.
Moisture shooting across as I hose down the room.
Yeah.
That is funny. So I want to get started with the Ike Foundation. We've gone to almost every event that we see you at the Classic or ICAST and stuff like that. I make sure that I come and see you and we do a video, especially about the Ike Foundation, because to me it is very important and I appreciate what y'all do with that. And because for me, I'd rather see a kid out on the water holding a rod and a tackle box than holding an Xbox controller. Yeah. So I really appreciate what y'all done. And can you elaborate with what the Ike Foundation, maybe somebody may not know what the Ike Foundation is?
Yeah, sure. I'll start. Becky's way smarter than me, so she can explain it better. But, I think that at the core, we want to get more kids outdoors. We want to get more kids outside. We want to get more kids to try the sport of fishing, right? It's funny because as you go to different parts in the country, kids grow up different, So,
right.
A kid growing up in Alabama or Texas or Florida, those kids might regularly go fishing, but there are a lot of places where they don't experience it. It seems so if you're a hunting and fishing guy, you're like, oh man, every kid fishes. But, there's a lot that don't. And, they're in areas where fishing's not the thing. They're in cities. They're in suburbia. They're, like you said, the world is changing. They're more inside than outside. So right. We're really focused on trying to get those kids that haven't experienced it, to try it and to have fun and to experience the cast and something pulling back. And, the hope is to make those kids have a good time to where they'll say, hey, I want to do that again.
Yeah.
You know,
Right, exactly. Because it only, I mean, to be honest with you, fishing's like golf. You know, I mean, it just takes one fish or one great shot in golf to make you come back and do it again.
right.
And so, I mean, and you hit the nail on the head, you know, because like we're in the Chattanooga area. I mean, in our backyard, we've got Chickamauga, Nickajack, and Gunnersville in our backyard. And here in the past recent years, I mean, Watts Bar has really started picking up.
Yep.
And so we're very fortunate to be able to get out on the water. And we've got some huge bass factories in our backyard. And but just like what you're saying, like people that's in towns or cities and stuff like that may not have water around to where they can go and do it. If they don't, they need to look at your Philadelphia video that you've done years back.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It's crazy because, you know, even in those more untraditional areas, whether it's a, you know, big city, an urban place, you know, whatever, 99% of those places have water. You know, most cities were built on waterways, you know, so the access is there, but it's just not the thing, you know, so that's the hurdle. And, you know, we've been, how long we've been doing this now?
So we started the foundation in 2014, but the one thing I would say is, you know, I think at the beginning, the mission was, okay, how do we find these like urban or disadvantaged kids that have never been taken out? They don't know anything about fishing. So that initiative was amazing at the beginning, and it's still our mission to this day. But I would say internally, the way we do things and kind of like how we reach people is very different now, because what we learned was at the beginning, it was awesome. We got these kids fishing and they had these amazing experiences, and then they could never do it again. Because if they'd never been taught to fish or been handed a rod and taken to a lake, it's because the adult or guardian who's with them had no experience, was intimidated by the process, wasn't going to walk into Walmart and buy something because they didn't know anything. Yeah. So like we kind of evolved, and it became, you know, like we're going to teach kids, but in turn, we're teaching whoever the adult is in their life as well. Right. And so that's how we've had to change it so that we can have this live on. Yeah. How do we make this less intimidating for the family? How do we like make this fun for this kid, but also have that parent see the excitement and then walk away going, I can do this. Like I can do this with my child, and I can take the other children and the neighborhood kids, and you know, and then it finally really took off, and we felt more like we'd hit our mission and we'd hit more folks. Yeah, so
it's funny because, you know, 2014, it's been a long time already. You know, it's been over 10 years, and we're at the point now where we're hearing the stories, and that I can tell you. And Becky will agree with me. I'm pretty sure that that's one of the best feelings in the world when you get an email or a video, you know, an Instagram video or story or a written letter. People actually still write letters. It's really nice.
Or they come back to volunteer.
Or they come back to volunteer.
And loved it.
They come back, and they're young adults now, and they say, thank you. Thank you. Now, you know, I'm doing this, or now I'm camping, or I'm doing this in the outdoors, and I'm, you know, a fisheries biologist. I'm this, I'm that. Man, that's better than any classic win ever. Yeah. Like that feeling is the best. And that, you know, that's why we started it. That's why we do it. That's why we'll continue to do it till we can't do it anymore. Till they roll us over the hill, you know?
Right. Now, have you had anybody message you back or like write a letter or say anything to you about like, I went and done the Ike Foundation years ago, and now I have no money because I'm having to go and buy new baits and stuff?
Yeah. Well, we get some of them too.
We try to spam those.
Yeah,
keywords. You ruined my life. They go to spam.
You ruined my life. I'm broke now. Why?
Yeah.
So, I mean, because to me, I mean, it is. I love what you're doing, and
awesome.
Because again, these kids don't nowadays, unless they have somebody to go and take them, there's not too many programs around that will actually take the time to go and show them how to go catch a fish and how to properly to get the fish off the hook and how to take care of the fish if you're going to keep it to clean or if you're going to release the fish. You don't have that around. And so what y'all are doing is phenomenal. And that's one of the things like I told my dad about that I really, besides your fishing career, Ike, that you've taken that and you've taken your platform from fishing to be able to care about somebody else's kid, to be able to get them out. And just like what you're saying, you're not just teaching the kid, you're teaching the parent, because that parent may have never had the opportunity, especially being in a city or the inner city or something like that, that may not have the opportunity to go fishing or had somebody to show them. Well, now that's something that the parent can go and do with that kid. It's another outing that they can do, and that's just more family time that they're being able to spend.
Yeah, it's awesome, and we're real lucky to have that platform, and when things started really ticking up and we realized, hey man, we have an opportunity to do something like this, we went all in on it. And I do want to mention, I want to throw Becky under the bus real quick while I'm here and say that it's the most rewarding business thing we do here, but it's also one of the hardest. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. And Becky works so hard. She's got a team that works so hard. It's such a difficult job. And I want to throw her under the bus and give her props for the foundation is Becky. They got my face on a lot of stuff, but all the work is done by Becky. So,
right.
So when
Mouse.
I'm Mickey Mouse. That's
We're
right.
Like, we'll bring Mickey Mouse to the event.
So where did the idea or the inspiration come from?
It came from literally, I think one day, again, it's interesting because, my career and the opportunities weren't always there. It's sort of like a mountain, you start at the bottom and you start hiking up. And then once you realize that you have these opportunities, you want to do something bigger and something special. So I've always been an advocate of giving back, of supporting charities, supporting causes. We still do a ton of that. But the point came where we were like, we need to do something that's ours. Yeah. And like, I literally remember, I think we were in this office. If we weren't, we were in the living room, and, we were just sitting around and like, okay, what's going to be our mission? What's going to be our cause? And I think it took like 2 minutes to figure it out, because I think because of our background, my background growing up in New Jersey and Philadelphia. Becky's from the Philadelphia area, then Richmond, then Washington, D.C. I was lucky because I had my grandfather, my uncle show me fishing. But most of the people I grew up with, they didn't know fishing. They were getting into a lot of bad stuff in middle school and high school. So it was pretty, it happened pretty quick. Once we put the pencil to the pad, we're like, yeah, this makes sense.
Right.
The other thing about us is that when we come up with an idea, we're never those people that are like, okay, let's think about this. Let's maybe get some opinions. We should talk to somebody, get some advice. Instead, like within 24 hours, believe me, our office is always scared when we come in. We're like, we have an idea. They're like, oh my God, what are we doing now? I mean, we instantly are just like, let's go. Like, we can do it. We'll figure it out as we go. Like, we'll just, we have amazing support in like actual smart business people, like attorneys, accountants, stuff like that behind us. But yeah, like we never hesitate. If we think it's a good idea, you could tell us no 1,000 times over and we'll be like, nah, we're going to do it.
We definitely throw a lot of things on the board, and some stick and some don't, but we do like to at least give it the opportunity. And honestly, when Becky said that, like, when we built that, we have a little office here, and it's small space, but space. But the whole wall on the one side of the office is a blackboard. Like literally, Becky found this paint. It's like a chalkboard. And she
Right.
painted the wall. And it's just constant, people writing on, people adding on, and some stick and some don't,
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And before we get going, I almost forgot. We have a giveaway with Luxner Lures. They have a subscription box, a monthly subscription box. For you to win that subscription box, I need you to leave in the comments your favorite Iaconelli story. So if you do that, and then we're going to pick after the podcast, we're going to pick the winner out of all of them. What we'll probably do is just draw some names, put the names in the bowl, and we'll probably just draw it that way to make it as fair as possible. But I almost forgot, but that's what we're going to do. So let's see some of your favorite Iaconelli stories. So I want to also, that was one reason why that we wanted to have Becky on, is because I know with talking to you, I've been fortunate enough to be able to know both of y'all for 6-7 years, and to be able to see you at different events during that time period. And I know what she does to I don't know every bit that what she does for Ike Foundation, but I know that she holds that reins and just keeps everything lined up ready for y'all to go. So I do have a question for Becky that I've always wanted to ask, and with being a wife of a professional angler, is the luxury just, Ike's out there in the heat, rain,
grinding, baby,
grinding out there, trying to catch all these fish. And I just want to know, are you in that hammock, with your feet propped up, enjoying that nice little breeze in the shade, and just eating bonbons?
Just so you know, I would be.
I do. I sit around, I eat the bonbons, I hand the kids some iPads.
Yeah. Hands off. Total hands off.
On Amazon all day long.
Yeah, Amazon 24/7. Yeah.
That was really cool. And you know what? I applaud any wife that does that if that's what makes her happy, because that's awesome. And I definitely,
it is awesome.
I dream of that. I'm just not wired like that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I can't even say I sit down and watch TV. People are like, do you watch such and such show? Have you heard of this? Like, I'm that person. I think I watched Game of Thrones 10 years after it came out because I was like in the gym and I needed something. Like, so
right.
I'm probably wired just as spastic as my husband,
yes,
which is why we're
definitely
a good match. I probably eat the bonbons. What are technically bonbons? But if they're candy, I would eat them. I like sweets.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't last in a hammock for more than a minute. I'd be like, all right, what?
Let me tell you, she does not sit still. It's funny. The inside joke here is she's the momager, because she's a mom and manager of everything. And she really is. She really is. So, like, when you look at all the things that, we're doing to try to just be in the fishing space, whether it's, the tournament fishing, whether it's sponsorships, whether it's the Bash U, whether it's Ike Foundation, it's Ike Live, it's the stuff in the shop, the social media, like there's all these, it's just a big giant mess of stuff. And, honestly, Becky manages it all. It's actually mind-blowing to me, because I know how stressed I am at a tournament week. And I have one thing to do, and that is to find the fish to try to win, right? Mm-hmm. And when I look at Becky's day, it's mind-blowing, because she's doing like 10 things and gone in 20 different directions and switching home office, outside office, driving here, all the while trying to be a normal mom trying to be great mom to her kids, trying to be a good wife to me, trying to be a great daughter to her parents. So it's pretty impressive. I can tell you that I've been impressed from day one, and it's I give all the credit for the business success that we've had to Becky. I really
Well,
do.
you know, Mike, it's interesting you say that. Moms are tough. They're very durable, independent. Independent, and just it's almost like nothing can phase them in the time of when they really need to step up.
Yeah.
And my point being is when I deployed in 12 and 13, my wife was the same way. I was over there worried about them, and she was over here holding the house down, making sure all 5 kids was doing what they're supposed to be doing. Yeah. Taking care of parents, and
she was the rock.
Yeah. There's a lot of behind the scenes that the moms keep the ball rolling, and they're very durable. I really appreciate stuff like that.
Yeah.
Well, see, and that's one thing that I think a lot of people they see Ike and they just see a professional angler and they think these professional anglers have it made, that all they do is just show up to whatever lake that they're fishing a tournament on. They pre-fish for 3 to 4 days, and then they go out there and they just fish. Yeah. And then after the season's over, they're just kicked back, not doing anything. They don't realize that we drive a truck for a living for McKee Foods and deliver Little Debbie's. You put more miles on your truck than what we probably do in a year driving a big truck delivering Little Debbie's.
Yeah.
And
we do.
You are a professional driver without the title. Yeah. I mean, they don't realize that you have this podcast to come on, or then you have this event that one of your sponsors says, "Hey, Ike, I need you to go to this." Well, this may be in Louisiana, or maybe down in Florida, or something like that. Right. They're your sponsor. They're giving you money, so it's not like you cannot say, "No, I'm not doing that." Right. That's not. And so the people don't realize that you've got all this stuff going on, but then back at home, you've got Becky there that's doing all this. And so I wanted to have y'all on because, again, I've known y'all for 6-7 years and being able to talk to y'all and do things with y'all at ICAST and at the Classic and other events and stuff, that I knew that with having Becky on, to me, that was the best person to be able to be like, what does a wife of an angler, professional angler do? It's just not just kicking back and relaxing.
No, I'm going to let Becky answer, and we could probably turn this podcast into 3 hours with everything that she's a part of. But I can tell you that there are a lot of hats to be worn with both of us. We wear a lot of hats. It's not even 8th month of the year gig. It's a 12-month of the year gig every single day, not like a normal job Monday to Friday, every single day. A lot of times Saturday, a lot of times Sunday, we do something in the fishing space. We engage in fishing. So it's a lot of work. And then, for us, there was always a bigger picture of how do you grow this outside of just tournament fishing. And that's a reality, I think, that a lot of people, didn't see or still don't see or don't want to see. And that tripled our workload, but it also created something amazing for us. And, so it's a lot of work, but it's just not fishing. But I'm so glad we did it. I don't look back and regret any of it. And, it's been a fun ride, and and Beck, she's a therapist. That's probably her hardest job. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
I am a lot of.
I didn't do well in psychology.
Yeah, but she does really good because a lot of anglers are really hard on themselves, me especially. And I can tell you, and this is just one example, but when I'm down and when things aren't going good, and if you look at my last couple seasons, I've had a lot of not great experience. I've been fishing bad, and if you're a professional athlete, you put a lot of your self-worth you put on your performance, and it's sad, but that's just the way, if you're a competitor, it's just sort of, that goes hand in hand. And man, she's pried me out of the depths of darkness a lot of times, seriously. And, man, I think that is one of the things I appreciate the most, but I know it's one of the hardest things for her is to deal with me when I'm in those places,
Yeah. So we got quite a few comments, but Jerry Brusso commented, said, Becky said the bad word, iPad. He said, we need parents to limit the use of iPads, cell phones, and video games so people like us can get our youth outdoors on a regular basis.
Jerry, I was joking because I don't fit in the hammock and bomb bombs either. So don't worry.
Yeah, no, Jerry's right.
I'm not a fan of them either.
Yeah, Jerry's right. We need more kids outside. Yeah.
So
we have another one from Lori. She says, asking you guys, do they have a date for next year's Ike Foundation tournament?
No, Lori fished with us years ago. No, not yet. Ours just happened. Our pro-am just happened this last weekend. Crowned a winner. They drove away with a brand new Bass Cat boat. But until we have the season, the schedule, and everything for next year, we won't be able to put out. that date.
Most of the times the Ike Foundation Pro-Am does end up in early to mid June. So we try to put in that time frame. The fishing's really good around here. It's heating up. The conditions are generally good, so we try to keep it there. So it'll probably be early to mid June.
Yeah, most likely. Yeah.
So I do have a question for you, Ike. We've got iCast happening here in 3 weeks.
Yes. I
want to know, because we kind of hit on this the last time you came on, and but I want to know, have you already got your outfit picked out of what you want to go incognito? And so, because I was telling old Pappy, we was on we were actually driving back from Indiana here this morning, and I was telling him, I said, one of the funniest things, we were at iCast, and we were walking down one of the main aisles and stuff, and there was this blonde-headed woman just come walking right past me. And I was like, I kind of looked because I was like, that woman has an Adam's apple. Yeah. And then I was like, and my dad was with me. And then my other buddy, Norman Lee, he was there with us. And I said, there goes Ike. And so they turned around to they were looking for you like in your jersey and stuff like that. And I was like, they're like, what is he? Where is he? And I was like, wearing the blonde wig.
I'll let Becky explain this one because it sounds pretty strange. Like if you just hopped on his podcast and said, yeah, Ike, you're dressing like a woman. That sounds pretty strange. But there is method to the madness. I'll let Becky explain it.
So years ago, we discovered this trick. We figured it out. But what happens is that he's booked at sponsor booths, on the hour, every hour. And so we're moving. But the problem is that everyone sees him and they want to stop and talk. So we're like, oh, we'll take the jersey off, just wear a regular shirt, walk. Well, that doesn't work. They still recognize him. They still want to stop. And then by the time you get to the next booth, the sponsor's not happy. You're already late. And then you're trying to leave. And it's good. So people start to get a little snarly. So we're like, well, how do we get around this? So we started with the costumes. And I think there was even like a Iron Man mask one
Oh
year.
yeah, we've had a
Sometimes
lot.
it's wigs.
We've had
It's whatever,
mustache, everything. Yeah.
whatever we can find to do. And the thing is most people at some point are like, wait, that was Mike. You know what I mean? But we're like 3 steps ahead before you've actually put it together. And so we can just keep moving.
Yeah.
And then we get to the booth on time. People are happy.
Yeah.
You know, then he puts jersey back on and it works.
And it's partially my fault. I can't say no, to somebody. And like one of the things like early on, because I was a fan of the sport, man, since I was a little kid. Like I remember going to sport shows and seminars. And, it's like, man, if somebody wants to take time out of their day to say hello or tell you a story or they want an audit or whatever, I'm stopping, but again, this is, it's not that I don't want to, but it keeps us on time. And guys, secretly, I have fun cross-dressing a little bit. No, what's that
So, but we
can go from there.
I don't know. I like it.
Yeah. And nowadays it's okay. So.
It is very acceptable. Maybe not as much in our industry, but
oh man.
So, but that was one thing that that I was telling Pappy. I was like, if there's one thing that I can say about Ike is if there's a kid around that wants to talk to him or say anything to him, he always takes that minute to be able to talk to him. I've never seen you in which doing stuff with Bass and then doing stuff with MLF and the Bass Pro Tour and stuff. I talk to a lot of these anglers, and some of these anglers, they want to go and do their job and they want to go. Yeah. They don't, not that they don't care. I don't want to say their personality may not lend to where they're comfortable with doing that. But in the long run, if the people that are watching is what allows you to be able to go and do what you're doing.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
And so that to me means a whole lot. And I try to kind of look at you of how you do things as a role model to where, we got a podcast that here, last year we were averaging 11 to 1,400 people. This year we're averaging 1,900 to 2,100 people watching during the lives. And I have people come up to me, and I always at the boat ramp, and that if people come up, I always want to talk just because I've seen that's what you do. And that's what like a Gerald Swindle will do and stuff like that, to where I want people, they may not know who I am, but if they have a question, I'm going to ask them. If they ask me for what bait I'm using right now on Chickamauga, they might get the bait that I used last week, but not. But I still, to me that it means a lot to be able to see how you carry yourself in the industry, and then seeing what you're doing off the camera as well. With the foundations and all this other stuff, and what you're trying to get people involved in the outdoors. To me, that means a whole lot. And so,
it's an interesting thing. Because when I met Mike, I'd never fished a day in my life. So I came in as an absolute outsider to all of this. I asked him if he could pay his bills. So just to preface. So it was interesting, like the first couple of times that I saw him interacting with fans and the amount of time that he gave everyone, and I was impressed by that. But also kind of like I knew how tired he was. And I remember having conversations with him afterwards, like, didn't you want to go? And he's like, of course. But they they are my fans. These are the people who truly follow me. And I want to make sure that everybody gets the experience that they want to get with me when they get to interact with me, because you know how hard it is. Like most celebrities, or if you're a fan of, any other sports or whatever, like you don't get to interact with them. And God willing you ever did, you would want to have an experience that you had dreamed that it was going to be when you got to talk to them. If you had that story that you just really wanted to tell them, you'd want them to react, like their eyes lit up, like, yeah, that's amazing. Could you imagine if you told somebody like, oh my gosh, I caught my PB 4-pounder, and to you, that's the most amazing thing. But that person's like, oh, okay, good for you. Like, could you imagine if that was the response? No, like you have to authentically be the person who you present yourself to be with every person that you talk to. And that is big. It's important. I don't know if people always get it, because we do sometimes go, you know what, I'm done. I'm shot. I'm tired. It was just a bad day. But you can't, because those are the people who support you in everything you do. They're the people who make you what you are, to the rest of the world. And the other thing I would say is that in order to kind of like, maybe not alleviate, that's probably not the right word, but we wanted to be able to have people have that experience with Mike, that interaction. But, just as much as the foundation was the ability to like, how do we reach more children? How do we give them that opportunity to learn how to fish? Ike Live was originated so that people could actually interact with them, because not everyone can come to a tournament. Not everyone can show up at the class. But how do they get that opportunity to feel like I'm sitting here like on a couch, or I'm at the bar with Ike and we're interacting? It was like our attempt to try to be able to give that to people. And that's how, Ike Live ultimately came around, was just trying to do that, because social media started to take off and you can't respond to everyone's comment. Like you might be able to check back in for like a day or so, but if a post is from 5 days ago and somebody comments, like you're going to miss that. Let's be honest. Ike Live was our opportunity to actually interact with fans immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I got kind of a little story, and I know with my me and my family, we were at Blue Water, and it just so happened y'all had a tournament there. Well, I walk out of which is in Dayton, Tennessee, and I walk out of the store there, and lo and behold, the first thing I seen was your truck, and it was like the inner kid in me could not wait to get a picture with Mike Ike. You know what I mean? Because I've been watching you for a long time. I mean, when you first come out on the scene, and I ain't gonna lie, it was kind of odd seeing you up there doing cartwheels and flips and hollering and dancing, and it took a while, but I was like, you know what? This is what bass needs right here. This is exactly what bass needs, and that goes with your character. I mean, you're just hey, let it all go. And I mean, you, and I could tell that you was kind of in a hurry. You probably want to get out there and do some, but you took time out to take the picture with me and my son, and that goes a long way. I mean, I'm 49 years old, and then when you took that picture, I was as giddy as a 2-year-old in the lollipop store. I mean, I ain't gonna lie, man, I was.
I love it. That's awesome. I love to hear those stories. It makes it all worth it when you hear stuff like that. And I'll just tell you that in my career, this is 30. It's crazy that it happened that quick. I've done a lot of stuff wrong. I've had a lot of failures. I've made a lot of mistakes, but I've done a few things right. And that's one of them. What Becky described, having authentic fan interaction. It's probably the single biggest thing I did right in my career. Yeah. And, that authentic grassroots interaction, that authentic reaction to catching a fish, that who you are, when you put that out there and it is really who you are, it is the strongest thing you could do for you and your brand and your business. And, I look back on it and I just say, man, thank God I went that route, and I'm happy. I look back and I'm like, that's the best thing I ever did in my career.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, and kind of go on to what he was saying, when I ran into you at Wheeler, and last year, my dog's trying to get his 15 seconds of fame, and it was, I don't know, that was probably the hottest tournament that y'all had last year, was on Wheeler.
Hot, yeah.
And so, and actually, right up above me, that little white piece of paper, I told you, I was like, man, the guy that I ride with, his son is a big fan of yours.
Mm-hmm.
Can I get an autograph? He took a picture with you and stuff like that, and he wants to have your autograph. And you're like, yeah, you got something. So the only thing I had was like a little piece of cardboard little thing. And Ike was like, what the crap is this? He signed it. And then he said, meet me at my truck here in a little bit.
Yeah.
And so and then I got, you had the big old picture, and you signed it for him and stuff like that.
Just know it's hanging up in his bedroom. He was very thankful. He was very thankful.
That's so good. Yeah, those moments are so special, you know.
Oh, yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
And so when I tell people, like when we're kind of going like on the fishing aspect, they'll ask me, like, to me, what is the most underrated bait that you can throw? And I'll tell them the blade bait. That is the most underrated bait.
Pretty good one.
And they're like, why is that? And I said, I seen a video. It was probably 7-8 years ago that you done on a blade bait, and you were talking about, like, it's not just a wintertime bait,
right?
And so I went, and I had the best 3-fish bag that I had ever caught. Period, was over 22 pounds, and I had a fish that was over 10 pounds that I had up to the boat. We won't say how my dad knocked it off with the net, but my dad knocked it off with the net. But I tell him, I was like, because up until I seen that video, I would only use the blade bait during the wintertime, because that's what we were told.
Right.
It's a wintertime bait.
Right.
And I caught that. It was late July when I caught those that biggest bag of 3 fish that I've had was in July on a blade bait.
Wow. That's awesome. Awesome.
And that's one thing, like, and I tell people, is like, the Ike, I love the Ike Live, because I love, one, you don't ever know where the conversation's going to go.
We don't either.
And
Becky's over there saying, please, 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 please.
Becky's over there stoking the fire sometimes. But yeah. I love how honest that you are. Even on some confrontational subjects and stuff, you are honest. I mean, you tell them your opinion, and you've had guests on that you have asked them difficult questions that people want to know, that they're kind of people are hesitant to ask, and that's one thing that I really that I like about it, because one, it's just, especially driving a truck, it's a fun listen to. It keeps you upbeat and going while you're driving, pounding out miles and stuff. But so let's see,
I got something. So can you kind of talk about your the Bass University?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, Bass University is, one of those things that we started a long time ago. And it was one of those things, again, was up on a board, and, that one stuck. And, it was really an attempt just to make people better at fishing, make people better at bass fishing. And, it's developed and evolved like a lot of things do as a business. But I can tell you this, that for me, teaching has always been something I've loved to do. Mm-hmm. Like, maybe not quite at the level of actually engaging in fishing myself. Like, that's still my love and passion. But like one level down from that is helping people learn more, helping people get better, helping teach people. And so we've been lucky because we've been able to do it with Bass University, but we've been able to do it through YouTube as well, and I can tell you that like that growth of that and it was like a storm, where we started this YouTube channel. We didn't know really what, we're doing fishing content, we're doing other stuff. And we started doing these things probably about 7 years ago called In the Shops. And it was just, again, one of the ladies in the office wrote it on the chalkboard. Let's call it In the Shop. And they've become the most unbelievably fun outlets for me to teach and to let people know what has worked, what hasn't worked, what are the trends, what modifications, this, that, all the way from basic rigging that, we would look at it and be like, I've known how to do it for 20 years, but people love it. There's people that don't know that, all the way to fuzzy dice rigged on a 3/16 wacky jig head, and you got to stroke it in front of the fish. Like the whole gamut. And, I think of a lot of the digital projects we've done in the last 5 years. That one has the most legs. It still does. It's the most successful. And the access is so easy. You don't have to go to a class. You don't have to pay money. You go on YouTube, and I'm there to teach people. So, education for me has been a lot of fun.
So has it come easy for you? Because I know, like, for me, like if I'm talking fishing to somebody, that I guess that I assume that if they're talking to me, especially about a certain subject, that I assume that maybe they know kind of the lingo that will go with it. Right. And then when I'm talking to them, I just kind of get that deer in the headlight look. So has it been able to, it come easy to you? Because it just rolls right out of you, to where you break it down so easy to where even the beginner angler is going to understand. You need to do this, shake the rod like this, don't, or whatever it is, or tie the knot, make sure you do this, and make sure that tag's sticking up instead of down to where it's not catching on the chatterbait or whatever. And does that come easy for you to be able to break it down like that? Yeah,
his backup plan was to be a professor.
I know. I actually, honestly, Becky jokes about that, but it's true. Like my plan B was, to be a teacher. I was planning on, if the fishing thing didn't work, there was a time in my career where I was like, oh, this shit ain't working. I got to do something else. I was going to go back and become a teacher, but I love it. I love it. And I think that the magic combination though, and it would be the same for Becky if she was doing fashion videos. Like, I'm serious, right? Like, cause that's one of her passions is when you're very passionate about something, it's very easy to talk about it and explain it and let it all out. If I was trying to talk about how to fix a trailer or, fix a bike tire or something, my videos would be terrible. They'd be awful. But I think when you have that passion, it's easier. And then the other thing, and this is a strange anomaly that you see with almost all anglers, all fishermen, they have an incredible memory when it comes to fishing. Everything else, not so much. Paying bills, math equations, even my wedding date, I had to get tattooed on my arm because I remember when I got married, for crying out loud. I'm pretty stupid in all other aspects of life. But I remember almost every fish I've ever caught from when I was like 12 years old on. And I remember the scenario, the lake, the cast, the this, the that. And so as we do these videos,
and we all know now too exactly where every fish was caught.
Oh yeah,
bait
Becky knows now. Yeah,
but how to get to the doctor's office?
No idea.
Still trying.
Hey, if that blue line don't take me to the doctor's office, it ain't happening, right?
No idea. But the memory factor's there, and so as we're doing these videos, and we launch a new In the Shop every week. That's a massive amount of content. But honestly, guys, the library's endless. Like it is legitimately 40 years of stuff that I'm trying to pay back to people that I learned, that people taught me, that I learned myself, that was an accident, was a good accident out there, that holy shit, that works, you know.
It works.
Try to pay that back, and it's fun.
So Becky, I got a question for you. What's it like off camera living with Mike Iaconelli?
I mean, what you see is what you get.
Awesome.
Except I get more of the serious side. But I mean, like the screaming, people are like, "Oh, that's all made up," and it's not. It's not. It happens regularly, and I feel so awful for like new people that come into our home or our office because they're screaming, and the children scream as well now because that's normal to them, and so people think someone's being murdered, and I'm like, no, it's just I don't know. Something happened.
So has the neighbors called the law because they thought somebody's getting murdered?
Yeah, no, well, we don't have neighbors on purpose, so that no one can actually hear. Like even the dog barks incessantly.
Spread it to everybody.
Contagious. But no, I think living with Mike, like what you see is authentic. I mean, that's not fake. He gets that excited, that passionate. At the same time, he gets just as angry about like the silliest thing. I mean, it's
very roller coaster.
Very real. I would say, I mean, I spend a lot of my time as a single parent. So, I mean, a lot of our relationship, once the kids became school age, you know, I'm at home, he's on the road. So I spend my time trying to make sure that everything's handled for him still on the road. I mean, I kind of abandoned him, you know, like we did it all together. I did all those things. So I still tried to continue to do the things, but from afar so that he could stay focused on fishing. I mean, do not take any of this the wrong way. We have a very equal, like very relationship, like, but I always did those things on the road for him. I want to try to keep doing those things, but I also know that I need to hold down the fort. At the end of the day, all these businesses are built on the name Mike Iaconelli. You know what I mean? I'm fully aware of that. I'm very happy to be in the background. It took a year to even get me to come on here. Like I'm happy to be in the background. So I want to make sure that, you know, he is comfortable and like not stressed out. He doesn't have to think about all those other crazy things. And when he comes home, we want home to be normal. You know what I mean? My kids have only ever known normal. They were on the road with that, but now it's like, dad leaves. But when he comes home, it's like, we just have to jump back into a normal routine. So it's like anyone else's house. Like, yes, I take on a lot more things than probably most wives do, but by default, that's my job because of the life that we've chosen to live. But in the house, no, I mean, he's got to take the trash out too. Like, he tried to go to bed and the dishes were still dirty. And I'm like, well, why do I got to clean all the dishes? It's a very normal household. I mean, when he's here, he can help with carpools and the kids want to be in every single activity known to man. I mean, I think they sign up for things when we're not looking. It's just, it's normal. It's very normal. But at the end of the day, I think the only dynamic thing that's probably different than us, and there's other people that are like this as well, but we work together. So we have to find a way to like be a married couple. We have to be parents, you know, do those normal things. But then we also have to like also change and be like, okay, now we're going to talk business. And I have to tell him things
separate
here as I kind of manage him. And those can be uncomfortable. But I would say we both have very thick skin. So we can manage those conversations, you know, like, what do we do next? How do we start this? Like, I know you don't want to call that person, but guess what? That's your turn. So, you know, we have to be able to wear those different hats. So that's probably the only thing I would say, dynamically speaking, about our relationship that's different than majority of the world, is that having to be able to like separate the different parts of your relationship.
Yeah, that's so awesome.
Now we got Jerry said, if you had if you had to fish all these tournaments with one bait, what would it be? And then his second question is forward-facing sonar, for it or against it? So,
wow, that's two really good questions. Probably two of the tougher questions you could ask.
I would fish a ribbon tail worm.
She would. She loves ribbon tail. That's a good choice, especially now.
How do you Carolina rig that ribbon tail?
Well, I guess it depends on where I am. I mean, you can rig it so many different ways, so it just kind of.
You're the shaky head queen. Don't lie. She's the shaky head queen. She'll put anything on a shaky head and catch fish on it.
Listen, early on in the relationship, I wasn't allowed to throw anything other than soft plastics because I threw a really expensive bait into a tree, and
Squirrel hunt.
And then he was like, "Here's all this."
Yeah, no Japanese crankbaits anymore. Just soft plastic.
They don't care what bait I would throw.
Well, they should. I would say, like the jig, the skirted jig to me in my career has been one of the best, most versatile lures, and it also catches a bigger grade fish. So I'd have to go with a skirted jig because you can fish it so many different ways, a lot of different seasons, different clarities, different parts of the country. Like for numbers though, like if you just want to straight up catch them, you would have to go with some kind of finesse plastic, like a stick bait, a 5-inch Denril or Senko, that style bait. Right. And if you want to just catch fish, you have to go with that one. And then, forward facing sonar, I'm one of the weird guys that is kind of stuck in the middle because of, I think where I'm at in my life, and it's a very polarizing topic. You've got most people far left, most people far right, and a few in the middle. I'm probably in the middle, but I will answer it like this, like my son is 14. Vegas loves it. Vegas is good at it. If they're allowing it and he's having fun with it and he's good with it, I'm so happy for him that he's using it. So I can't totally hate on it because of that, and I'm not anti-technology, but deep down inside, honestly, I can tell you that technology has changed the sport to such an extent that I don't even think it's fishing anymore. It really isn't, or it's not the fishing that I came to know it as a kid, right? The art of fishing when I was growing up and when I was coming up through the ranks was, like it was casting into the unknown. It was using technology to come up with theories and make guesses and you were predicting, and it was, you're looking and watching and, and it was casting into the unknown. And that technology, because it's live, right? It's unlike any other technology because it's live. It's happening as you see it. It's happening. It really has become more like stalking or hunting or tracking or
it's not really fishing anymore.
Not really fishing to me. And that, I think deep down in my core that bums me out, and that's an honest answer. So, am I going to quit bass fishing because of forward facing sonar? Absolutely not. I want to keep competing. I need to learn how to use it as long as it's allowed in the league that I'm fishing. Would I maybe smile a little if it was banned? Probably, because I think it's more of the fishing that I've come to love, Now,
do you think that the forward-facing sonar has hurt bait companies that, especially like that makes, let's say, spinner baits or crankbaits and stuff like that? Has it hurt those companies that do that?
Absolutely. I think you can list as many negative comments from forward-facing sonar, and you could list a lot of positive comments, right? So, we could go down that checklist back and forth, but I think there are a handful of negatives. For sure, that's one. I can tell you for the most part, if you had a jig head minnow and a jerk bait, that's pretty much all you need with forward-facing sonar, two of the premier baits. So does it hurt the other avenues of fishing? Absolutely. Does it hurt Bass University? Absolutely. What do you need to subscribe to Bass University anymore if all you're going to do is fish a jig head minnow the whole time and chase a fish around? So I think it has hurt a lot of parts of the business. I think there's a segment of people that can't afford that technology. So they
Right.
turn on TV and they see these guys. That's the only way they're catching them. Every 9 out of 10 tournaments being won with it. Dude, that's depressing to someone that can't afford it. A 16-year-old, 18-year-old kid that can't afford it.
Well, they're thinking that's the only way they can catch fish.
There's as many negatives as there are positives. Is it showing us things we never knew about fish? Absolutely. Absolutely.
And that's one thing that I've told people multiple times is, excuse me, I don't think that I have put more fish in the boat because of the forward-facing sonar, but I've learned so much of what we grew up thinking that fish done was totally opposite.
Totally opposite.
Mm-hmm.
Or in reality, to me, there was an entire group of fish that we never knew existed.
Correct.
That honestly never even come to the bank. They spawn deep, they live deep, they just never get to the bank. The suspended fish that were the hardest fish to catch forever and ever and ever, now are the fish that people are targeting. They're the ones that are being caught. So, when you look at the books, when this forward-facing sonar revolution really started, even though it's pretty old, let's call it 4 or 5 years ago when it really started to take a hold. These weights are just incredible. Like take Pickwick, take Gunnersville for an example. You never saw these kind of weights consistently throughout the year like you see now, and it's because that opened up a whole new way of fishing. Again, I can't totally hate on it, but I don't know if it's fishing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, do you think, because like when side scan came out, people were hating on side scan, saying that it was cheating.
Yeah.
And then now you cannot buy a unit now without having side scan on the unit.
Yeah.
So do you think it's going to come to a time to where the units that you buy are going to come factory with the forward facing sonar?
I think if the leagues don't put something out there that bans it or limits it, I think you will see that eventually as technology advances and as costs get cheaper and all that. Yeah, I think it's going to be standard. But again, let me tell you this. Forward-facing sonar is unlike all those other technologies. Even side imaging, what an amazing tech. Dude, I can turn on my Lowrance HDS 12. I can look 120 feet to the right, 120 feet to the left. I can see a school bus down there. I can see a house. I can see everything perfectly the way it looks. But that image is in the past, right? When I go by and I see that image, it's in the past. 2D in the past. Down imaging in the past. Forward-facing sonar is in the present.
Right there.
It's such a different technology. It's maybe like a good analogy. I've said this before, people laughed at me, but it's like, you're trying to work out, you're at the gym, and you're taking vitamins and you're taking, your powder and you're getting your protein and all that, versus the guy that's taking HGH, that's taking steroids, that's jamming, and really it's like that. And I don't want to take anything away from the anglers that are good at it, because in the same, you look at baseball, right? You had the steroid era in baseball. Were those batters amazing? The home run record? Yes, they were amazing. They're going to live in the history books forever. But, it was because of steroids, and it's like forward-facing sonar now, it's a lot.
Now, who do you think is one of the most underrated anglers in bass fishing right now?
Oh boy. I mean, there's a lot. I can tell you this, that the crop of young anglers that are out there fishing now, whether they're fishing the Bass Pro Tour or the Elites or the NPFL, or even the ones that are coming up through the college and open ranks, the qualifying ranks, they are the absolute best for their age that I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah.
And it is a product of the times. it's this. We didn't have podcasts when we were young. We had magazines and VHS.
He was watching tournaments on TV that was 3 weeks old.
3 weeks old, a month old. And so the information is so quick now that these they're just learned, they're so far advanced. The best case example I can give you, and it's the one I know the best, is our son, is Vegas. Yeah. And Vegas is 14 years old. Vegas, the Sunday that just passed, last Sunday, he just won the New Jersey Junior National State Championship, which qualified him to go to Clarks Hill in a couple months to fish the Nationals. Vegas at 14 is at the same level that I was at 24. Guys, I'm not shitting you on that. This is 100% real. Vegas at 14 knows as much or more than I knew at 24 years old. Think about that. It's incredible. And I'm not just talking about the obvious ones. He's a better caster than I was. He can flip, pitch, drop shot. He's better at the technology. He's better at learning. He's better at keeping an open mind. He's better at navigating the boat. He's better at all of it at 14 than I was then. And that really tells you about this new crop of anglers. And so there's so many underrated anglers right now because they're really, 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 really good.
And it seems like every year, especially like within the last 3 years, that rookie class that's coming in, and it doesn't matter if it's Bass or the MLF or Bass Pro Tour, these rookies that are coming in, they're like, hold my beer, watch this. And they come out, and one of my favorite, he's not a rookie anymore, but Tyler Williams, I have never seen somebody that is as consistent as a younger angler for me, to where, and all he does like what you were talking about, a skirted jig. That's his main go-to. And I've talked to him multiple times. He says, if they're not hitting this, you know what I'm throwing? I said, what's that? A skirted jig.
Yeah. Tyler Williams is the modern version of a Denny Brower, Tommy Biffle. Extreme confidence in a bait, but he's able to mold it with knowledge as a young guy more than any of the young guys ever had, and he's able to mold it with technology. And so, that's probably the dream combination right now. I mean, like with Vegas, I'm his dad, but I'm captaining him in these events. I'm mentoring him. I'm coaching him. And I'm going out of my way to try to save him from the things that I went through. I'm trying to shave that learning curve, but I'm also going out of my way to teach him to just fish, because I don't want him to just be reliant on technology. I want him to be great at technology, and I want him to be great at fishing. And so, it's always great for me as a dad and a coach and a mentor to see him flipping bushes or fishing a top water and just blind. I call it blindy fishing. It's just blind fishing. That makes me happy. And then I get to see him how good he is with the forward facing as well. And it's a deadly combination. And I think if you're a young angler in today's circuits and they're allowing it, you got to be able to do it all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's when I really like watching the videos and stuff that you post with him in it. And then it's not just that you're getting him out. I've seen videos of where Becky's out there with him and stuff as well. I've seen some blooper reels when Becky's out there with him.
Oh, it's so great.
So, but and just the love that he has for the sport is just phenomenal. I really really enjoy watching those videos, and I look forward to seeing what the future holds for him. And because I know, like the last time that we had you on, and you were actually y'all had a family vacation that you were actually in y'all's camper or something like that y'all you've done the podcast, and I asked you, are you going to push Vegas into doing professional?
Yeah.
You're like, nope, I'm not going to do it. If that's what he wants to do, that's what he's got my support. But if he does not want to do it, he's got my support. And so, but just to see, especially in the last 2 years, like he has really developed and got that fine tune on things, like what you were saying. And I just love it's just the excitement. It's just a miniature Iaconelli is all that I can see. And there was one video he caught. What was it? It was, I don't know. It was cold. I know that it was snowing or something like that. You had ice on the deck, and he caught a big one. And as soon as that fish got in the boat, he started, woo!
Oh yeah. It's great because kids are mimics, and it's great and sometimes bad, but it's mainly great because they get the best qualities of both of their parents. So
Or the worst.
But I think Vegas has some great qualities that he got from me, but he is very reserved, and he is able to accept loss, and he's able to forget about a lost fish or a bad moment like that. And that's all Becky. So, I love watching him because he really is a hybrid. He's a hybrid of Becky and I. He's both of us, and he's definitely got the qualities, I think, to make a living in the sport, whether it's tournament fishing or guiding or making baits, or I think he's got the qualities. But with all our kids, we've got four children. We've got 2 older girls and the 2 littles, and we've always had the same mentality, which is we want to push them to do what they want to do. We want to push them to where they want to go in life. Would I love for Vegas to follow my footsteps and get in the fishing industry? Absolutely. But if Vegas, we joke about this all the time, dude, that kid's smart. Dude, he fixes shit like you wouldn't believe. Like, if he ended up being an engineer or working for NASA, it would be awesome too. You know what I mean? And we're like that with all the kids. So, we want the best for him. We want him to be happy. That's the main thing. We don't want any of our kids to be stuck in a job or a situation or a life that they're not happy with. We want them to be happy,
Yeah. Now, what are some goals that you have for your career still that you have maybe placed that, all right, 5-10 years down the road? What are some goals that you, Ike, and Becky, that y'all are looking for? I mean, because it may not be tournament fishing. It may be to where I want to enhance to see what the Ike Foundation, get it as big or whatever. I got whatever. Yeah. What are some goals that you have set that you would like to accomplish with whatever the future may hold for you?
Yeah, I'll let Becky answer this, but I will jump in and tell you this, that I think that as you get older, as you age, and as your career gets further along, your goals and stuff change, and especially when you've succeeded in a lot of the stuff you wanted to do, it definitely, the dynamic changes a little bit. So I've still got a lot of goals, but they're not necessarily all tied directly to top tour tournament fishing, So I've been real lucky that I've done everything I wanted to do in the sport, and my childhood dreams have been accomplished in tournament fishing. So, my goals now are shifting to other goals, like, growing some of these other businesses, diversifying outside of fishing into some new stuff. City Limits Fishing we're bringing back in 2026. I'm so excited about that show. I can see that becoming a big thing for me in the future. So I think there are still a lot of goals, but I think they shift a little bit. Would you agree with that?
I would agree.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with guys that are in their late 60s, early 70s, still trying to tour fish at the top level. There's nothing wrong with that. It's amazing that we're a sport where you can do that. But, at 53, I honestly don't envision myself being 70 years old and still doing this, So do I still want to be in the fishing industry? Absolutely. But there are a lot of other ways to engage in the sport that you love. There's a lot of other ways to provide value to your sponsors. And there's a lot of other ways to engage fans outside of fishing the Bassmaster Elites. Yeah. And that's what we'll see more of as we keep aging, Yeah.
I know one goal that I have that I would love to see is that Ray Scott lifted up above that head. And so that would be, to me, that would be something that I would love to be able to see. Number 2.
Yeah.
And just because I think that just the excitement that you bring to fishing in general, and you've been able to share that along all the different platforms and everything that you do and the little businesses and stuff that you have. I would love to see that on the front of the boat again.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I think if you're a competitor, you always want to win, and I would love to win on a big stage again. And I hope that happens. But again, if it doesn't, like literally, we're in the home office, and I'm looking around, and besides old ink bottles, there are a lot of really cool trophies in this room, and it. Honestly, even I have, a down day, or you're feeling depressed, you're feeling sad about something, my arm's been acting up on me, I'll come in and I'll look at it. And it's a great feeling, to know that you've accomplished that stuff. But I would love to do that. And I don't know if you heard the rumor, guys, actually, I just heard last night for the first time. I think there's a seniors tour starting that I think I'll be able to qualify for. It's called Golden Guys. What is it? The Golden Guys circuit. It's basically a seniors tour. I think we already had an email. Depends approached me, and as I keep aging, the Golden Guys tour is looking better and better for me.
I mean, and I believe with Depends sponsoring it and stuff, you got to wear the Depends on the outside of your pants up.
On the outside. Wear one pair on the inside, one pair on the outside. I get on a hot bite occasionally, and I don't even want to stop to pee. So that way you just
right.
it's right in your pants as you're fishing.
Well, it might take a minute to even get started, though.
Yeah. Well, it's a team tournament, so it was
right.
It was either Team Depends, Team Viagra, Team Dr. Scholl, Team Just for Men, Hair Cialis.
Well, we all may have a little issue with the Just for Men. So, that'd be interesting. Then Becky might have something else to worry about besides your feet stinking.
I tell you, we throw a lot of things on that board. That one might stick. It might.
That's right. Yeah. So, but we have had you on for an hour and 20 minutes. I don't want to hold up your time. I know y'all have a lot of stuff going on. I didn't even get to ask half the questions that I was wanting to ask. Oh, I do want to ask this. Missile Baits has a jig, that monster jig.
Yes.
When are you throwing that monster jig?
Yeah. So that's it's in my career, I've had a lot of cool development opportunities with different companies, from rods and reels to baits, everything. And that's one, you'll develop a bait that is so shocking to people, and that, it's different or strange or weird, and it's so good, but often people miss it, or they misinterpret that jig. So the monster jig was really basically, it was a swim bait-esque lure that you throw when you want to mimic big forage or specifically target big fish. So the interesting thing is that when you look at that in the packaging, you're like, oh my God, it's a muskie or a striper lure. And it's great for those species. But take it out of the pack, put a big swim bait trailer on it, and lay it next to a 7 or 8 inch glide bait. I promise you guys, it's the same size or smaller in many cases. So, you know, when your forage is big, if you've got gizzard shad, or you have a big golden shiner, or you have adult bluegill, or tilapia, or Cisco, or you've got forage that's big, it is a great imitator. And it's a great alternative to a hard glide bait with treble hooks. Because, you know, the problem with that is you're limited to open water and ultra sparse cover. But the monster jig, guys, I can skip it. I can throw it up under docks. I can roll it through treetops and not get snagged. So to me, you have to think about that lure like as if it's a big swim bait or a glide bait. It's the same thing. And you know, we'll see what the future of that one is. It might end up being one of those ones nobody ever understands, and I'll get to keep it in my pocket as a secret, or maybe it'll blow up. We'll see.
Yeah, because I know I seen the video. It was in the shop when you done that video on it, and I was like, "What in the world has Mike come up with now?" I was like, "He just had some mold that he just made this sucker out of." I mean, because it's massive. I mean,
it's big.
What is 1 ounce or something like that, isn't it? To where, and I was like, "What in the world?" And then it was right after that I went to I went to a show, and Missile was there, and I was talking to John, and he had it on the table, and I was like, "You're telling me this is for real?"
It's crazy. It's massive. And you know, again, it's hard to wrap your hands around it until you think about what the fish eat, and you know, and mimicking that, matching the hatch. And then, you know, you also think about, you want to catch the biggest fish in a place, the biggest bass of your life. You know, that's the kind of lure that will catch those fish. So it's a sleeper. So we'll see if people catch on, or I think they will, you know?
Yeah. And I mean, I had to ask you, because I was like, I had the question because I was like, man, and at first I didn't, I mean, because it's been out, 2 years or so that it's kind of been out on the market. And so I haven't been on the podcast since then. And I was like, when I get him on, I got to ask. And I almost forgot it.
And I love doing extremes like that. I love pushing the limits of a lure. And John has that same mindset. So it's been really fun to work with him on skirted jigs. So, you know, we've got everything from our micro jig. Guys, literally, it's like little, like that big. Like it's a spinning rod lure. And you could barely cast it on a spinning rod, all the way to that ounce or ounce and a quarter monster jig. So it's fun to push those limits. But I can tell you that, you know, mimicking that forage, it's always very high on the priority list. So when the bass are eating stuff that big, you want to jig that big. When the bass are eating stuff that big, you want to jig that big. So it's nice to have those extremes in your arsenal.
It is. So I want to tell y'all thank you again, and Becky, I wish you would have had some bonbons to eat while you're here. But I cannot thank you enough for what both of y'all do for the fishing industry, because it's huge. And I want to say thank you. I mean, because you may feel like you're a small part of what the fishing industry does, but what y'all do is tremendous with the fishing industry, and trying to get kids and get people to teach them how to fish, from beginners to people that's fished all their lives, to where with Bass U, and then with your YouTube channel and in the shop and stuff. It is phenomenal. I don't know how you have enough hours in the day to do all the content that you do, but again, Ike and Becky, thank you so much.
It's been a privilege.
I look forward to seeing what the costume is going to be here in 3 weeks. And
we'll have something really unique this year for sure. and thank you guys for letting us come on. And it's always nice when we talk about the other stuff that doesn't get talked about a lot, you know. And we enjoy it. It's been a fun career. It's been a fun life. So appreciate that, guys. Appreciate having us on. And literally, as soon as we disconnect from this podcast, I'm going to go wash my feet.
So
we're sorry, Becky.
So with that being said, we're going to end it on washing feet.
Yeah.
And so if you have not learned anything from this podcast, is Ike needs to wash his feet.
I need to wash my feet. They're terrible.
Yes.
So guys, I hope that y'all have a blessed day, and
You
want to
too.
see y'all out on the water, and we'll talk to y'all next week. We have Bobby Bakewell, and which he is a Bruiser teammate of ours, and we're going to have him on, and we're going to talk to him. Last year was his first time fishing. He qualified for the Bassmaster Classic in Fort Worth, so we're going to talk to him about his experience with fishing the Bassmaster Classic. And but Ike and Becky, thank you so much, and I can't wait to see y'all here in 3 weeks, and we'll do a little video or something while we're there.
Thank y'all.
So,
Sounds like
guys,
a plan.
have a good one.
Thank you, fellas.
Thank you, guys.